Hello, everyone. Welcome to this chat all around payments today. We're very lucky to be joined by Danny from SB Sports Massage and Rehabilitation from up north around the Leeds area. He is someone that we first met at Therapy Expo actually last year and ended up joining us. Has 3 clinics. And is somebody that wasn't doing online payments when we first met and has gone through a process of doing it. He is obviously one of the business owners that's been hugely affected by COVID, having to deal with all the regulations as well. So we thought it'd be useful to have a conversation today just to understand what's been going through Danny's brain, what are the challenges he's been facing, how is it he's adapted, and what does he see are the advantages and disadvantages of all things related to payments. So we've gone live. Admittedly, it's relatively short notice, so there might not be too many people watching live, but if there are, then please do put any comments as we chat. Likewise, add any questions afterwards as well, and we can certainly cover those off in slower time as well. So I guess without further ado, Danny, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so as Malcolm said, I'm based up in the north of England. We've got a clinic over in Leeds. We do have a pending clinic reopening in Bolton, but with everything that's going on, we're just keeping that on the shelf for now. And then we've got like a headquarters based over in Chorley and Lancashire as well. And we specialise in manual therapy, so sports massage, mobilisations and rehabilitation, and the predominant injuries that we tend to see are back and neck and shoulder pain, which especially through lockdown is growing by the day, it seems, as well. So yeah, as Malcolm said, originally I wasn't doing any online bookings and any online payments, but since switching to the online system, well, being forced into it through lockdown really as well, it's made a massive difference. It means that we can focus a lot more on our treatment rather than worrying about is someone going to be bringing cash card or what have you, and it makes it a bit more seamless when they're actually in the clinic and it's just us and the patient and nothing else.
Cool. So how did you do payments before?
So it was predominantly card. We've always favoured card just because it's the quicker method. Saves us having to go to the bank with cash and what have you. But it's something that I've always looked at over the last couple of years, really, since taking on the business. Just looking at trying to speed things up and make it so people are coming in, and I know money's an awkward thing anyway when it comes to therapists in general. I think a lot of people do get a bit touchy with money, whether it's about how much they charge or what have you. So if we can kind of take that money side away and make it a bit more seamless, that was kind of my thoughts with it, really. We can have someone coming in, they've already paid for it, that's done, they can come in, right, what's your issue, let's get it sorted, and then book online and pay online again. So it just kind of speeds it up a lot more. And since switching, like card and cash just seems ancient now.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
How much of an impact would you say it's had in terms of saving time?
A lot. I'd probably say an hour a day. An hour a day. Probably even more because then you've got the time in between patients as well. But just in terms of going through the card receipts and what have you, and that's probably an hour there, and reconciling cash and messing about with all that. That's an hour, and then in between. So yeah, at least an hour, maybe even 2 hours once you add it all up. But it's not just the time; it's the way the business looks as well now. I think now it's online and it's a lot more modern. And we're noticing that more people are booking because we're online, because you do get drop off if you miss a call and someone's just working their way through Google. You've got that element as well. So if someone's searching for sports massage in Leeds and they're phoning right, SB number 1 and then 2 and they just work through, and whoever answers first gets the patient when it's online. If I do miss the call, a lot of the time now they're just going online and booking it, and we're not getting that drop off. So there's so many. I could talk all day about all the different benefits, but in terms of speeding up the actual processes, it's massive. Like I said, 2 hours a day at least.
Wow. Okay. So I guess, yeah, let's work those through. So in terms of, so from a time perspective then, so
Yeah.
saying an hour or two a day, that's huge. Based on how many therapists is that roughly?
So at the minute, it's just 3 therapists across the 2 clinics. So I'd probably class it as being quiet in terms of we can have more up to like 4 working full time. Really, that's the potential we've got. But at the minute, we've got myself who's doing full time, and then the other 2 are doing part time. So I'd probably say an hour is being generous, really. And that's just based on, like I say, reconciling the cash, reconciling the card against the accounting software, and making sure everything's in place, and making sure the internet's working fine in the clinics to take the payments and everything like that. Yeah, it's just making a massive difference.
Wow. Okay. And then you've referenced then, interesting, you talk about from a professional side and the perception,
Yeah,
because this is something when we've done a lot of research with our members, that actually there's a lot of people that are very reticent to do online payments because there is still a perception that it will put clients off, and they want to have that booking there just to make it as easy as possible to get that booking made, thinking that would bring in more business and more people turning up, and that being asked to pay would put people off.
yeah. Like I say, I can only see the benefits of it. I've not noticed that it's had adverse effects by being online. The only thing that I've noticed is positives. We've not noticed a drop off. We've only noticed an increase in bookings from being online. It's another avenue that people can book through. Like I say, if it's only phone and email that you're accessible by, not everyone likes to do that. People are busy, but we treat a lot of business people that have got very, very busy diaries, and they need to cross-reference their online diary with our online diary. And when you're on the phone to them, they drive into another meeting, and they're like, oh, well, if you text me a few days and times, I'll have a look at my diary, and then I'll phone you back. And it's like, well, that's just wasted half an hour of each other's time. They're hanging on, and I can't book at that time because I've already told him that 2 o'clock on Saturday is free, so I've got to keep that free, as well as the Friday 12 because I've told him 2 times. So it's like I said, looking back now, it's ancient. It's just not a good look for the business to have, I don't think, in terms of you're phoning them to them look at their diary and then cross-reference it with yours, whereas they can just sit there, have 2 screens on the computer. Yeah, I'm free there, sorted, and it's just seamless. And then you have got to have the other option of the old school methods of, you've still got to have phone, you've still got to have email as well, Facebook Messenger, all the avenues. The more avenues you've got to look at it as a way of, there's less chance of people not booking with you. If you can be available on Google Bookings, if you can be available on Facebook, if you can be available on Instagram, all the different avenues, email, phone, online, then there's less excuses for people to not book in with you, if that makes sense. If excuses is the right word, but you know what I mean. There's less chance of people getting annoyed with not being able to get in with you and going, oh, I'll go and see Joe Blogs down the road instead because they've got an online system, or they answer the phones better. So there's
Yeah.
less drop off massively.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It fits in, certainly for those of you that know me, know that some of my background was management consultancy, and they always talked about we're in the era of customer 4.0, because basically former predecessors of it were, companies would build a big brand, and it would be people would come here because it's this brand, and people would go out of their way to fit their life into that of another company or brand. Whereas very much nowadays, everybody feels busy. Everybody thinks they've got this self-importance and self-busyness. So if companies don't fit into my life, then, I don't book into it. The most visual representation of that is why you have, a Starbucks on opposite corners of a crossroads, because people won't even cross the road to get their coffee. It's crazy, but it's as silly as that sounds, then actually that is the psyche that we're in. So
eliminating the excuses, like I say, it's like you've got to kind of look through the patient journey and think, right, where could I be getting a drop off, and where could people be looking at your business and going, oh well, they're not online. I'll just do it online, and then I can look at my online diary. So I'll go elsewhere, and they're not. Oh, he's not answered his call once. I'll not phone back. I'll go elsewhere. If you can have everything seamless, and that's something that I'm probably going to work on in the future, is making sure that each avenue is seamless. I think there's a couple of changes that we could make on the phone lines and how emails are picked up and what have you, just to make sure that we kind of reduce that response rate time, just to make it again more seamless in all angles. And the online booking system, there's little things that could be tweaked, and I've spoken to Tom about and what have you. But overall, it's better than it was before, in terms of before we didn't have an online presence, in terms of the bookings, and now we do. And there's always going to be, it's never going to be perfect, and that's why it's good to have these chats on social media and everyone jumping in saying it's not suiting my business this way, but it's suiting mine that way. And well, you'll know, because you'll probably, your ears will be burning with all that information as well. So, but yeah, there's all the benefits from it, and I understand fully that people need to keep the old school methods, because not everyone is online. We treat a lot of over 50s, over 60s, not to generalise or anything like that, but they're not as savvy on the computers and social medias and what have you. So if we can keep those on non-online methods, and the phone lines and the emails and what have you, then you don't lose them. So again, there's no loss there either. So if you add online and don't replace everything else with online, that's where you're going to see the benefits. If you replace everything else with just online, then I can see where people might say, oh, I don't want to lose those custom that just use phone and email. So you've got to add it. You've got to supplement your business. If you don't, then it is a loss. I don't care how good the online system is. If you're taking away phone lines and email contacts, you will lose out. It won't be a supplement to your business. It'll be detrimental, really.
yeah, it's really true. It's really nice hearing you use language like customer journey and understanding your customers, and knowing that although you're someone that's embracing online, you've got the savviness and awareness of, well, we have a significant number of customers that aren't savvy with that. So we still have those other options available for that preference that's there. And we know people are slow to change. So we've certainly seen it, that some people put in an online system and then go, oh, no one's using it. And that's because the existing client base is just so ingrained of, dropping someone a text. And for a lot of therapists, they've tried to make it so easy for people that actually it's like, well, I can just drop you a text, and you as the therapist are one that's running around in the background, sorting stuff out, making suggestions, that it feels nice and easy for me, which, so actually there's two sides of that change in thinking. One thing, because and I don't know if you are able to quantify it, is obviously you've talked about missing out on some business because of missed phone calls and voicemail tennis, etc., and gaining business because of the online side of things and being able to pay. I know it's a bit hard to ask this question, but in terms of have you managed to get any sense as to quantification, as to sorts of numbers of either of those?
In terms of like drop off, like from missed calls and what have you.
Either business you've missed or the business you've gained.
Oh, flipping out.
Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, the business we've gained, I'd probably say it's double what we've lost from missed calls, whatever that number would be. I think it's we on average we probably miss a couple of patients every week from like a delayed response because I've been with a patient or what have you. But in terms of online, like I say, I'd probably say like 4 a week. Obviously, that's just me plucking a random number out, but it'd be close to that. It's certainly the drop off from missed calls it's been gained by having the online, but at the same time, if we can keep those calls and improve that side as well, alongside the online system, then we're gaining on both sides. But yeah, we're gaining more online than we're losing by response rate on the phone lines, I think.
Yeah. And I guess then, just to quantify that a bit further then for people, I don't know if you have an average customer value
Mm.
for yourself. I guess there's the tangible in terms of number of times those initial courses of treatments, plus coming back, and plus any referrals.
I'd probably say on average, customer value is probably about 150. So if we lose two, we're losing about £300 to the business. So that's straight away to me. Every loss of patient isn't just someone that we've stuck a value on, but also it's someone that we've lost the ability to help as well. Sometimes we get it where they go elsewhere because they can't get on our diary when they need to, so that they go elsewhere and then they come back because they've not been happy with the treatment. So you don't always lose it, but it's not only is it the monetary value, but it's someone else that you could have helped, and that's where I got into the industry, to help more people. So if I can have more streams of people coming to me via online, via phone, email, what have you, it's more people that we can help, and we're not risking them going anywhere else, because obviously we're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to have that attitude, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely have to. And I think what's lovely there again is hearing you talk about patient-centered care approach. I think it is very easy to get lost in the figures and numbers and get focused on money, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you run a business, and actually lose sight of the why. Why are we doing it? And that why is, becomes the value proposition. And if that shines through to the patients, then that will make them come to you, and make them recommend others that comes as well. Too many get a bit focused on the what and the figures, don't they? And if a patient feels like they are just a number and money for you, well, we all know how that ends, don't we?
Yeah,
But I mean, just
we can help the most. It's like I say, you look at the journey that they take to get booked in, and could we have made that more helpful to them, because they're coming to us for help and guidance or what have you. So if we can make it as helpful as possible and as easy for them to book in, it's just taking that stress away, because we get a lot of people that are highly stressed. If people are in pain, you're in a high stress state. So if you're making it a stressful journey for them to book in, even more so, you're going to get that drop off more than most businesses, really, because like I say, you've got people that are in desperate need and they're in pain, and if you're there having to faff about phoning you and emailing you, and they can't look at their diary and book online, they're just going to go, "Oh, sack it! I need to get it sorted like this minute."
Yeah,
So
it's true.
even more of a demographic that will drop off if you're not in the right like, I don't know what the word would be, but if you're not suiting their needs, then you're going to get a drop off because they're in a high stress state. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, actually. And I guess that customer journey is something that often, when you're a bit close to it, it can be really hard to objectively look at, because if we're dealing with something every day, we just know it happens, don't we? It's a bit like when you've got your child, and particularly with lockdown, you haven't seen the grandparents for a few months, and suddenly they see the kids and go, "Wow, they've grown so much." And you're like, "Oh, really? Have they?" There are these things that happen that when you're immersed into it day to day, it's less obvious, isn't it? So one thing that can really help there is either reaching out in the SIF networking group, and buddying up, or with other therapists that you're friendly with, is actually ask each other to book in, and just say, right, as a patient, can you go in just and give me some objective feedback? People can get really defensive about criticism, but actually, if it's always phrased in what went well and even better if, then everything you're doing is phrasing it as positive suggestions.
Yeah.
And actually then having somebody else look at that and go through it, then get some brilliant feedback that you wouldn't have thought of. And likewise, one of the other things as well, isn't it, is that can be great, but they're not your target customer. So if you've done your customer segmentation, and it sounds like you have, and you have a clear idea as to who are your most valued customers, well, they're the people that you want it to work for. don't you?
Yeah.
So actually they're the people that you want to say, right, have a look at the website. Is it clear what the value proposition is? Is it clear why you should see me? Is it clear where to book? So many book now buttons are buried away, that it's really difficult. Is it nice and clear and simple and easy? What's the comms? How does it, do I feel informed? Do I feel comfortable? Have I got an option to pay? Can I pay, etc.? And that can all be really powerful and really help.
That's something that me personally, whenever I treat anyone that's been with me for a long time, I'll make sure that I'm keeping them involved in what the business is doing at the minute. If we have made a change, how was it for you? Because I don't want them to feel like the changes we made are stepping away from what is already working for them. If that makes sense. So I'll say to them, look, we've made these changes. We've moved to SIF. We're now taking bookings online. It was your first time doing it. How was it for you? And at the end of the day, if they did turn around and say, well, actually, it's not worked because of this, and this, then straight away I'll have to get on to you or Tom and say, look, like some of my key patients are turning around and saying they're having real trouble doing this, and this. Let's get it sorted quick, because they're the ones that mean the most to me, because I've got that connection with them because I've seen them for a while. But also they're obviously my key demographic of patients, because they're coming back time and time again and they see the value in my treatment, and they're the sort of people that I want to please. So if I can please Joe Bloggs, who's already coming in a lot, then the odds are if you want that same sort of patient as your ideal patient, then you need to be speaking to him and saying, look, what worked well for you? Because I want more people like you. Maybe not saying that to him directly, but you know what I mean? It's so that's what you've got to think when you're speaking to a patient that is your ideal patient. They're the ones where you need to be extracting all the information off them, thinking, right, how can I get 10 more of you coming in each week?
Yeah.
If you look from a business point of view, obviously that's not something you'd say on a medical point of view. How can I get more injured people like you coming in? But you know what I mean? That's just the value to the business is that.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about that in terms of how can I get more like you're my key customers, then it's music to my ears, really, because it allows you to tailor your proposition, doesn't it? And it allows you to learn. Actually, what I would say is a bit of friendly challenge is don't be scared to ask people, how do I get more people like you? Because the one thing that we always see is that as humans, if we have a bad experience, we're very quick to tell everybody about it. But if we have a good experience, even when we have an exceptional experience, it's very rare, apart from certain personality types, it's very rare for us to tell other people about it. But if asked, then we'll be quite effusive in our praise. And if given a bit of a nudge, then we will refer other people on. So most of us, if we've, the timing is everything, isn't it? If I've just walked in the door and I've never met you, Danny, and you say, right, how do I get more people like you? That's not going to go down very well, is it? But actually, once you've built that rapport and are having those conversations, then you never know what comes of it. As a random example of it is, we ended up with, I don't know how many people know this actually, Dr. Rod Jakes, head of medical services from the English Institute of Sport, former president of the Faculty of Sports and Exercise Medicine, been to 5 Olympics with Team GB, phenomenal guy. He was treating me when I broke my hip. And actually, we were just chatting. And then I asked him outright, said, how could we find somebody like you to help us with SIF? Because we've got the therapist side, with everyone knows Mike's background, Mike James. But we want to try and break down these stereotypes and these hierarchies. So how do we get someone of similar status to yourself from a sports medicine side involved? And actually asked in the right way and built a relationship. And he came on board and was involved. And then has referred us on and made some great connections to other people.
Yeah, people like that. I think if you do ask someone that sort of question, it makes them feel important as well. So it gives them a bit of an ego boost as well. I don't think there's any loss of asking that question of how can I end up with having more people like you involved in my business, and because they'll think, right, well, I must be doing something right, and someone's asking for my experience on that matter, and they don't. When we were talking before about patients not feeling like a number and having that one-to-one connection with them, that's another avenue you can go down to build that connection more. Is how can that patient adapt your business further to make it even better? Because you don't want, especially people that have been in for a long time and they come in for a monthly maintenance and they're coming in for new injuries and referring family to you. They don't want to feel like it's just the same old every month. I'm going to see Danny, he's going to do the same sort of stuff. You need to keep it fresh, both from a treatment point of view, but also from a business point of view, and keep adapting and seeing ways in which you can change the business. And it is hard to do. Like I say, I'm getting better at it, but it's just spending that time thinking about how you can adapt the business best to suit everyone and make it so the customer journey is so easy. And like I said, speaking to people with experience, and saying, what can I do to help more people like you, or what can you input into my business to help us help more people, that they'll love it, and hopefully we'll love it as well, because it'll help us massively.
Yeah. And we've got Scott Hayden, got a conversation with him later today. He is in a different situation to yourself in terms of he's a part-time therapist, ideally looking to go full-time. So with the benefit of your knowledge and hindsight, then would you still operate in the way that you are if you were still part-time or as a solo therapist? Or
yeah, I think I would, really. In terms of the online system we're talking about, and the ways of generating new patients, is that the avenue you're going down with that? Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of it.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I'd certainly, even more so, if you were only offering part-time hours to this line of work, and you've got another job to be looking after as well. Moving online is something that's you need to do. I think the way I was working before this wouldn't have been sustainable at all. Just doing phones, email, card, cash, it just wouldn't work. Whereas now it's online. For someone like that that's working part time, you need it to be more slick than that. I don't think it's feasible to have a good free-flowing business that looks nice and slick to patients if you're just doing the old school methods, especially during these times with everything that needs to be put in place for COVID protocols and PPE and what have you. You do need to be working in this online modern sort of ways of working now, if that's the sort of answer you was after.
Yeah, it wasn't an answer I was after. It's just I always find it interesting that we have a whole range of people, from part-timers, we have a lot of solo therapists, and then we have some bigger clinics as well. And I guess It's that thing, isn't it, of people are always looking. It's easy to say, isn't it? It's okay for Danny, he's got 3 clinics. It's okay for, other people because they've got this and this and this. I'll do that later. So actually, one of the things that we've seen that enables people to be successful and to remove that stress and save them time is actually to implement these efficient processes pretty much from the off. Because yes, I guess you can utilize cash and transfers into bank, and you can do it so you can probably get it so it virtually costs you nothing other than a bit of time. But actually, it's not a scalable process. When you account for your time, then you're actually losing money often. And any costs associated with doing online payments, payment processing, etc., SMS messaging, they're utterly negligible compared to the benefits, of gaining new clients or not losing clients, saving time, reducing your own stress, etc. So I always find it's nice, we can say it and people will say, okay, well, we're perhaps got a biased view because of some of the software that we run, and that's absolutely understandable. So I think it's always powerful for people to hear the live case studies from other therapists, as to what they've done, what they've learned, what they'd have done differently, etc., and how they did operate and how they think they would operate.
Yeah, well, that's certainly the biggest change that I've made in the last few years. It is making the switch to online, and if we're looking at helping someone like Scott, who's working part time on it, the more stuff you can have automated and that's working in the background, the better. So you can focus your part time on your patients and their care, and then that's what's going to help you grow, is because your treatment will be better, and the communication with the patient while they're in there will be better. So if you can make more stuff automated, that's something that I've learned as I've gone on, and it's certainly made a massive difference to me. And I can dedicate a lot more time if I'm working full time on it as well. So if I'm noticing a big difference, I think certainly if you're limited to the time you can put into it, if you can work towards having it automated, it'll certainly help.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Great words of wisdom there, which is really good. I'm conscious I don't want to take up too much of your time, Danny. So I think we'll bring this to a close. But in terms of that, getting the name out there as well, I think I'm right in thinking that actually you've given the opportunity of one of your staff members to have written an article for,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the January edition of Women's Running magazine.
Yeah. So Rachel, our therapist over in Leeds, has been communicating with Mike on writing an article for that. I think it's something that's in the work in progress, but I think she's cracking on with it alongside a master's degree as well. So that's going to be really good exposure for us. And again, it's just another avenue for us to build our way into, because we do treat a lot of running athletes. So straight away, as soon as we heard about that, we thought, right, well, that's our demographic, especially over in Leeds. So getting into that and getting our name out there a little bit more is certainly going to benefit. And if anyone that's listening, I'd certainly recommend to jump on any opportunities like that straight away, because in terms of time consuming, it's not that much, especially for Rachel, because she's already up to her neck in paperwork anyway, so she might as well get it down into something useful for me as well. So yeah, it's going to be good for the business. It's going to really, really help. And if anyone else sees anything like that, I'd certainly jump on it. If you see that it's suiting the demographic that you treat, then even more so.
Yeah. And I have to say full credit to you for giving the opportunity for your staff member as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's always lovely to see clinic owners, empower and give these opportunities for staff rather than perhaps just keep them for themselves. So, I think she's 19-year-old lady, isn't she? I think something like that. So being a 19-year-old and, having a double page spread in women's running, with the oversight of yourself and Mike, that's hugely powerful.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good for the development of her as a therapist, and when people have to sit down and research specific topics, it just forces you a little bit more as well to see if there's anything new out there as well. As we all know, research should be something that's done on a regular basis. So if we can gain that experience of doing more research, but also it's going to help her exposure as well, and help her grow as a therapist and as an asset to the business. It's a win-win all over, really. So yeah, it's going to be good. I look forward to reading it.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'll sign off. It's a time when I think most therapists have been busy treating, so we haven't had any direct questions, but we know the way this group works that we'll certainly get some in later on as well. So there's some absolute gold nuggets of information there, Danny. And you've kindly said that we're able to share this as well. So we've done it first up in the group, but I think we'll either put the whole lot out, maybe on YouTube or maybe certain segments as well. So thank you for that. Please keep going with all the brilliant advice and tips, and you're great at pushing us forward as well. And we always value that, because the more proactive people are with us, it helps us shape the platform in the way that works for you, and hopefully you've seen us respond in a way that works as well.
Well, I just want to say thank you to yourself, Malcolm, and Mike and Tom, and anyone else that's helped me along the way and developing my business as well. It's like I said, the only thing that I've seen is benefits, and I'll always be on to Tom and I'll always be on to yourself for little tweaks and what have you. But in terms of the all-round service that you guys are offering to all of us on this group, and hopefully more in the future, it's been massive.
Oh, well, that's really kind of you to say. In the same way as you talk about wanting to help patients, and that's what drives you, then for us it's feedback like that, and it's helping people like yourself. So yeah, we never get bored of hearing that, and that always strives us forward. So yeah, the time we don't hear that will be the time that we've cocked up or gone off in the wrong direction. So let's keep talking. There's some absolute gold nuggets of information there. If anybody wants to get hold of you or do any follow-up questions, how do they best get hold of you, Danny? Or is it just via the group?
Yeah, you can drop me a line on Facebook. You can drop me a line on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. My email is danny@sb-massage.co.uk. You can drop me a line there. And yeah, feel free to contact me whenever. I'm always glad to help people, and especially any new people that are new to the online side of things. If people need a bit more confidence on working with that and seeing how it can help your business, I'm more than happy to have a chat and let you know how it's helped me.
Yeah, that's great. Particularly anyone that treats anything related to golf. And
yeah. If anyone wants a round of golf, I play Saturdays, Wednesdays, and the odd Sunday as well.
That's good. Right. Well, I'll let me end this live feed first